Sales is not a transaction. Sales is a transformation. That's what I'm talking about on today's episode of the Sales Center podcast, and the show begins right now.
You're listening to the Sales Hunter Podcast with Mark Hunter, where the focus is to help you as a sales leader sell with confidence and integrity. And now here's your host.
Okay, so I said sales is not a transaction. Okay, you can understand that. I said sales is about transformation. What is this all about? Hey, here's the deal. Sales is not a transaction. Now, sales is a transaction, but it doesn't involve a salesperson. If what you are selling is merely a transaction, in other words, an exchange of money, you're not needed. You are not needed. We have to look at what we do as salespeople as creating a transformation. In other words, we're moving the customer to a different state, to a different view, to a different perspective. We're helping the customer see something that they did not think was possible. Stop and think about this for a moment. Look at what you sell. And if what you sell is basically a transaction, a commodity, you're going to be replaced. You will be replaced. In fact, you probably on the verge of being replaced because your number one competitor is probably your company's website or some AI tool that is basically doing the transaction for you. You see, we have to look in sales as seeing our role as transformative. In other words, we are helping the customer unpack things, resort things, realign things, discover things, unlearn things to be able to come up with a better solution. If what you sell, the customer can really go all the way through the purchase decision. And when I mean purchase decision, in other words, the decision, because this is what they feel they need without you, then you're replaced. See, the future of sales is very bright for salespeople who understand this. What this means is that we are going to spend more of our time really asking questions, talking to the customer, because the customer's coming to us. Every survey has shown this, that the customer's coming to us deeper into the sales process than ever. In other words, they've done their homework. They have done all the homework they need, and they think that they can make it be a transaction. You see, the customer is always going to default to trying to think that the sale can be a transaction and you're not needed. This is why it's so imperative that you as a salesperson have to start off your sales process with questions. Questions are more important than ever because you have to get the customer thinking and realizing that what they've been thinking, what they've been believing is not right. They have to be thinking and believing now because the questions you ask that they haven't looked at everything. There are other options. There are better solutions. There are things that they may wind up doing that they will come to regret later. We can't do this through statements. We can't do this any other way but by asking questions. So I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to ask you this. Are you starting off all of your sales presentations by asking questions, asking the customer, what is it? Why are they looking to buy this? In other words, understand. And this comes back to the whole premise. If we don't understand why the customer is even willing to talk to us, understand the need that they have, we don't have any right to think that we can do a transformative action with them. So the questions we have to ask initially are all about helping us and helping them to really be able to communicate the need, the problem, the challenge that they have. Only after that point can we begin to direct them to a potential solution, the product or service we sell. But the problem is most salespeople don't. They race into what it is that we sell. In other words, the sales process the salesperson is using is a transactional process. If we accept the fact that it's transformative, we must lead with questions. Anything short of that is going to set us up for the customer trying to make it a transaction. That's not going to involve us. The future of sales for salespeople is absolutely bright. But this also means that we as salespeople have to understand our customers better. Now, wait a minute. You just talked out of two sides of your mouth. You got to ask questions to find out what their need is. Yeah, But what I mean better, by understanding their ICP, the ideal customer profile. The future of sales is when we as salespeople get tighter and tighter and tighter with the types of customers that we're dealing with. Now, AI is going to help us. AI is going to give us a lot of knowledge, but we have to go into every sales call knowing as much about the industry, the space, the marketplace that they play in. We may not know them specifically. Those are what the questions are, but we got to do it. And only when we start to do that early on in the prospecting phase are we going to be in any kind of a position to make it a transformative sales. Hey, I'm Mark Hunter, the Sales Center. You've been listening to another podcast from me where it's a single topic, short one like this. We do a second episode each week where we do a long dive with a subject matter expert. I should say we do a deep dive with a subject matter expert. I'm Mark Hunter, the Sales Center. Do the podcast for one simple reason: to help you see and achieve what you didn't think was possible. I'm Mark Hunter. Great selling.